Hello, good morning. Welcome to Guru Mantra Meditation. Welcome. Welcome to everybody who's joining later or on YouTube. Hi Chris. Hi Jiwan. Welcome. Joanna, White Moon Whispers. Welcome. Here in Melbourne, I've woken up and it looks clear outside, but it is 100% raining. Who knows what's going on with that? Hi Sunny, hey Belle, good morning. As we all start tuning in, hey Rubes. I wanted to check in with everybody. Hey Lance. Well, good evening to you in the UK. Hi Sari, hi Mum, hi Jack. I wanted to check in with you all. Currently, 36 people. I expect a response. I wanted to see how everybody's going, and I also wanted to check in and see if there were any burning questions or anything that has been arising from doing the practice. There is a teaching that I was thinking about giving today, but I wanted to hand it over. Hi B, good morning. Hey Beck and Warren. I wanted to hand it over to you guys, hey Bree, to see if there was any particular teaching that we might want to run with. And if you guys want to talk about coffee for a third day in a row, I am cool with it. Otherwise, anything that has come up for you in the last little while, I know that even for some people, finding this balance of kind of moving back into the world as things are starting to open up, and this is confronting because people are also kind of enjoying this quiet time. For others, the quiet time has been really a massive challenge. So why is tea okay but not coffee? Okay, we're back on the coffee break. That's cool. I'm cool with it. Tea has a different kind of energy to it, basically, on a basic level. So you can look up online. There is this study that they did. I know, Chris. Sorry, genuine wonder. I'll keep it quick. There's a study that they did with spiders, and the spiders. Buongiorno, Simone. Well done for quitting coffee. With the spiders, they gave them like heroin, crack cocaine, marijuana, coffee as well. And of all of the webs, so they kind of must have microdosed these poor little spideys, and they let them to go about and do their business, and they tracked the webs. We actually learned about this in architecture school because there was something about, I don't know whether they were trying to encourage us to use LSD because that was the coolest web. But yeah, so when you saw the webs, the most whack, the worst one out of all of them, like I'm talking out of heroin and crack cocaine, the worst web is the coffee one. It really shifts your energy completely and also your mind. So, and look, I'm not here to say stop drinking coffee. I drank coffee and was a yogi for a long time. Yeah, tea, as I spoke about a bit differently, helps to produce a yang effect energetically, especially if you're somebody who is really yin energetically, always open to other people's energy. Tea is a good one for that. You can swap your coffee for cocaine then, Sarah. Sure, go for it. Your web will be looking all right. Okay, so Belle said she's feeling a bit unmotivated through the week. Don't know when to push myself and when to just stop and rest. This is a good question. Would it be worth talking more about tamas, rajas and sattva as we slowly move out of ISO? Chai tea is okay. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not here to be like, this is what you should or shouldn't be eating or drinking by any stretch of the imagination. For some people, coffee metabolizes okay. So, you know, for some people, crack cocaine also metabolizes okay. Not really. But yeah, just having I guess, a reflective moment on what it is that you're putting into your body, especially as you're kind of clearing on an energetic level. I'll see if there are any other. Did I notice a change when I quit? Yes, I noticed a big change in my body, a lot less toxicity, clearer eyes, steadier energy. I also quit alcohol at the same time, so I noticed more the shifts with alcohol as well in my own body, but definitely with coffee. You know, if I have the odd coffee, I feel it so much as a toxicity in my body. That's the big one for me, which I prefer not to have. It also shifts me energetically. I can be very shaky now with it, whereas I think I used to handle it. I understand the coffee thing, so I just let people do it if they want to, but not when it comes to energetic work. So as Suchana knows, on my retreats, I prefer people not to be drinking these kinds of substances, because there is like a kind of, it's an effect like a drug in a way, and I want you to feel the effects of the pranic work that we're doing, the energetic work. So pranayama, for example, I want you to feel like that intense high coming from the practices, coming from the breath, coming from being in nature, coming from yoga nidra, coming from practice, like all of those things you can actually get through the practice. And I guess it's the nature of modern day humans to think that in order to receive more energy, and this is why most people are doing it, because they don't have energy in their bodies. In order to receive more energy, they have to consume through eating. So they have to have something sugary, they have to have a coffee, and in fact, we can get it all through the practice. We can get it all through either rest, Belle, like actually having a proper night's sleep, which also starts to happen when you get off coffee. And alcohol will allow the adrenaline and the adrenal glands to kind of calm down. You won't wake up in the middle of the night. But also it is about kind of using these practices to energize and create vitality in your body. Kate, to answer your first question, you're well, okay, but things feel so much more high energy and buzzy since Melbourne is starting to go back to somewhat normal. I know I still went down Chapel Street yesterday and it felt very weird. It still felt like Good Friday, as my friend said. Interesting, thank you. You're generally a tea drinker anyway. Okay. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Okay. Bit control freak at the moment and Chicken Little syndrome. Okay, so a bit worried that the sky is falling in. My mum used to love that. The ritual of drinking tea is very calming. Swap coffee for matcha. Matcha is good if you like it. Coffee for you causes anxiety. Yeah. How long since I drank alcohol? Well, I gave up like regular drinking in 2015. 2015 I gave up, so that's 5 years. Yeah. But in that time I've had the odd drink, and I will occasionally have a drink. Like I like a nice cocktail, like a Negroni occasionally. The last time I had a drink, you know what, I can't even remember. It might have been in January. Yeah. It was hard at the start. I actually did a whole blog post on it if you're interested online, if you're interested in giving up drinking. And I encourage the mentorship group there's 40 odd people doing a daily sadhana, learning the Kriya with me as part of the Light Collective. And they, for this month, gave up, there was an invitation to give up alcohol. So online under resources, there is a journal page, and if you wanted to have a read, it's not in any way preachy, I promise. It was just my journey through it and why I decided to give up alcohol. Does one need to go through suffering to some extent to see light and to awaken? Okay. So there are a few questions in there. Thank you. This last one is really interesting. Do you need to be in suffering to awaken? The other question was around feeling unmotivated and not knowing whether that means that you need to have rest or take action. And also, I guess that links in with some more questions around sattva, rajas, and tamas, which are the three gunas. So I don't know whether I'll be able to get to all three of those questions, but I'll start with Belle's because it was the first in terms of lacking motivation. And it ties in a little to what I was wanting to talk about, which is consistency of practice, which is called Abhyasa, when you just show up and you're taking action by showing up and being there. Abhyasa is the sense that you do something repetitively. So it would mean you're doing the same meditation, for example, every morning. You're doing the same yoga practice every day. There is consistency and there's repetition, and this is a method in yoga. So, for example, another one for me would be when I was first in the first kind of 10 years of my practice, I was really into the physical practice, and I would practice Ashtanga yoga every day. And Ashtanga primary series is the same set. So you would do the same series of postures. It's unlike a vinyasa class where every time you go, the teacher teaches something different and there's new postures and you get the variety, which we all kind of crave. And in this modern era, there is a sense that we want things quick, we want things different, we want variety. Everything has to be changing all of the time, including our yoga practice. God forbid a yoga teacher taught the same class twice, and this is the pressure that vinyasa teachers put on themselves as well. It has to be a different class all the time. When you practice Abhyasa in your spiritual practice, many things start to open up for you. So first of all, you will find perhaps, there's different phases. When you first start something, there are initial struggles when it comes to whatever you're doing, whether it's meditation or practice. This is really hard. I can't do it. All of the things that limit you and hold you back. But there's some part of you that is bringing you back to show up. And I think that in these early stages, so Belle, when you're feeling unmotivated, having a sense that you just show up. You don't even think about whether you're motivated or not. You're just showing up for yourself, perhaps even if it's just for practice. And even if you're unmotivated to do other things in your life, at least you're showing up for this practice, which says a lot that perhaps you're not unmotivated, you're still here. Some people can't even get out of bed, and there are a billion people who would no way be interested in getting up to do a meditation practice. So I'd be also questioning the lack of motivation. You're motivated to do certain things. So in the start phase, there is a sense that we feel limited. It's difficult. Then we start to receive the gifts of the practice, and you can feel really high. Maybe you have a really great meditation experience, or perhaps you finally get into that posture you were never able to do, or you start to notice that you feel calmer in your life. So you start to receive the gifts of the practice. And this is almost like an energetic push. Keep going. Stay in it. Stay in. Continue the Abhyasa, that repetition. Don't stop. And you're motivated at that point. Now, it's easy to be motivated when you're getting good stuff, right? When positive aspects or attributes are coming back into your life. But like everything in life, whether it's a relationship, whether it's your yoga practice, that continual upstream. So this would be the growth phase. This would be, say, energetically, we talked a bit about the different aspects of divinity. Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver. This would be this kind of Vishnu stage. At the end is always Shiva, the destruction stage, and it starts all over again. So there will always be within your practice a moment where you feel like all is lost, or you want to give up, you get bored, nothing seems to be going on. You're showing up for meditation every day, nothing's changing. Done with this meditation with Cyan, finished with it, leaving, not coming back. Don't listen to that voice in your head. The same thing goes for mala, japa repetition. So I will find one of my gazillion malas. It all happens within japa mantra. When you start repeating the mantra, this phase, you're like, blah, 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 can't get the mantra out. What is she saying? How do I do the mantra? Then you start to get into the mantra and you're all like, I'm pretty good at this. I know this mantra. Yeah, I'm liking it. Then you get to about here and you think, oh my God, this is never going to end. We have so much mala left to chant. I'm bored. I'm done with it. This is the phase that a lot of people then want to quit. And this is the kind of phase within practice. This is the phase in meditation after a certain period of time. But, you know, it's this part that's the magic part. You suddenly realize you've only got 10 beads left. Make the most of it. And you drop so deep in this moment. And this happens continually through all types of practice. You feel like you have to start all over again in your yoga practice, or you get an injury, or you learn something new from a new teacher and you move through that phase of like, oh, this is hard again. And then it becomes really joyous, and then it becomes boring or difficult, or you don't want to do it, or you feel unmotivated. And if you can move through that lack of motivation and continue in consistent practice, what happens is in this phase, like I'm using this as an analogy, the mala beads are an analogy for any part of life. This could be the relationship that you, when you first meet, you're like, I don't know whether I like this person. And then you're like, oh my God, I really like them. This is the best. And then you realize that they're a human and you don't like them so much. And then you settle into an acceptance. And this acceptance, this has been how you feel in your yoga practice at the moment, like you've hit a plateau and you're not making progress. Because as humans, we want to always be making progress. And it's built into our culture, it's built into capitalism. If you're not making progress, if you're not learning, if things aren't growing, then there's something wrong. When in fact, this is a very natural phase. It's a really, really important phase, because what it can do is teach you to witness all of this. Sitting in a state of witnessing, I'm lacking motivation, but I'm still showing up. I feel bored, but I'm still showing up. I want to escape, I'm feeling triggered, but I'm still showing up. I'm witnessing myself through this whole process, and I'm watching the drama that's going on. Nothing's changed. The mantra is still the same. The practice is still the same. You start to understand that it's your internal world that creates all of this drama. If it was inherently true that the mala, the practice, the meditation was bringing you suffering, then you would never have felt joy in this period. You would have never felt struggle in this period. Do you know what I'm saying? So everything that's going on is an internal process, and it's really important to watch. It's like a spiritual run. When you're halfway through the run, you want to walk, but you've got to keep going. The plateau is such an important part of growth. When you stop, when you feel unmotivated, in all parts of life, what do? Do you give up? You're nearly there. Do you give up on your relationship? Do you give up on your practice? Do you give up on yourself? Or do you witness it all and keep going? And look, this isn't to say if you're in an abusive situation, like when I mention relationship, don't stick with somebody who is abusing you. That's not what I mean. And I'm not suggesting if you're super unhappy in a relationship, stay with it because of Abhyasa. But watch what's going on internally for you. Watch what's happening inside. And watch this desire to always be either on the up, on a high spiritually, being fed by somebody else. I don't mean food or coffee for that matter. I mean, somebody kind of feeding your mind, giving you these little kind of bursts of kind of endorphins and all of the happy hormones. When you move into this phase, we move into a state of equanimity. And this is where I'm hoping you will all move into. This state of equanimity is where this is the sattvic state. So if we want to talk and bring this back a little to sattva, rajas, tamas, the start would be tamas, where you don't even pick up the mala. You're not doing any practice, or if you're doing the practice without even thinking about what it is, that would be this ignorant tamasic state. To do the practice only for the joy part, that would be rajasic, only to get something out of it. We get to the end and we start to experience an equanimity. The practice is about to finish, or you're in a stage where you just show up because that's what you do every day. Sometimes you get an injury in your practice, but you keep showing up. Even if you have a cold, you still go to your yoga class, you still show up to your meditation teacher because you know you're there to receive much more than the actual practice. There is a deep learning that's happening at the soul level, which is about not giving up, which is about showing up for yourself with consistency, abhyasa, and showing up to the same practice and noticing the boredom. Noticing it, not getting too involved in it, watching it, because the boredom will shift. You'll move through something else. And so even if you think about suffering, and that's probably a bigger question, but this is the phase of suffering, this phase of feeling like all is lost. When you're able to kind of move through this phase of boredom or even suffering, the end isn't necessarily like the crazy high. You're just at a different stage, a different vibrational setting. You might not feel the high you felt at the start when you were getting into it, but that's because you were vibrating at a lower level. You've lifted your game. You can work with a state of equanimity. And believe me, there will be not too long when again there'll be another challenge. When you think you've plateaued, something challenging comes up and you realize that's what all the practices are for and you are more equipped. That's right, Al. This is such an important reminder, especially right now when many are feeling isolated and trapped in our own heads. For me as well. The practice and the physical improvements in the poses are a side effect. There's much more going on in the inside. Exactly. We show up to the class, but it's great to move your body, and all of those things are really powerful. But in the end, it's this process and all that you're learning going through it. So I hope that this helped. Thank you. And thank you for those questions. All of the stages and challenges with the practice. They're there. They're there in life. At least if you're doing a practice and experiencing challenges through that, you're growing in some way, because it can be really hard to move through life without kind of using that suffering, that plateau, whatever you're going through for growth, because you get stuck in that constant cycle. Like, when will I be able to do handstand? Yeah, for me as well. There was a moment, it was like years ago when I was living in India, and all the teachers got together and we did a teacher practice, and I said, oh, let's work on handstands. I don't know how to do them. And everyone was like, well, try it up against the wall. I just went straight up and I stood up in a handstand for about 30 seconds and came down, and everyone was like, what do you mean? You can do handstands? I was like, okay. Then I injured my shoulder. That was like the one handstand that I ever did in my life. That's it. I gave up on that. This is wonderful, important for us to embrace. It's easy to get stuck and lose perspective of the practice. It is. When you want to honour this state of Abhyasa, but you realise you need to practice Ahimsa. Ahimsa meaning really self-care and non-violence. Needed to hear this today. It's easy to let our egos get a bit too involved when it comes to asana as well. Yes, that's true. You always have to check on the ego. Hey, the ego is involved not just in asana, but also in meditation practice. Also with, going off and having a guru somewhere, and the ego wants to get involved, and it can very easily get involved even in spiritual practice. I have talked for way too long. It is time for us to get into meditation. I also wanted to let you know, for those who are members, I've produced Guru Mantra meditations that we're uploading the next couple of days that will be on the guided Guru Mantra on the TLC membership space, and they'll be a 10-minute, a 20-minute, and a 30-minute. And look, I think that you don't really need me, but if you're feeling like you're in that phase where you're in struggle town a bit and you want to do a longer practice, then there's support there, and that'll be coming up in the next few days. So there'll be more meditations going up online. Same with Crow, you refuse. No, Crow's not so bad for me. Let's jump into meditation. Closing the eyes down. Take a deep breath in the nose. Out of the mouth. One round of Om. Relax the forehead, the mouth, the throat. Take the palms out in front for consecration, giving up all of the everyday mind, every part of us that feels bored, unmotivated. Let go of that mundane aspect of the mind and elevate your consciousness towards a state that is clear, connected to the divine or your highest self, to the truthful state of who you are. Elevate into that state, and from that positive state offer up all of the karmic fruits of your practice to a greater power, and wait for a response from above. And then rest the hands. And we take the mantra Om Namah Shivaya, connecting us to deep stillness and centering, Shiva consciousness. Feel free to repeat it out aloud with me. Over a few rounds, we'll slowly move into silence. Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Until the mantra becomes an internally repeated vibration. Om Namah Shivaya. Connecting you with that fierce presence, the deep, still space within you that we call Shiva. Om Namah Shivaya. And when the mind becomes distracted, bring it back to the mantra. Om Namah Shivaya. And for the final few moments of this meditation, go deep into the mantra. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Now please let go of the mantra completely and allow the awareness to rest in the experience of Shiva, that stillness, the void, Bring our hands to prayer. Rub them. Press them together. Rest them at the heart. We'll seal with one round of Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Bowing forward to the still center that exists within all of us. To that we bow and say Namaste. Namaste. Thank you for the 80 of you who stayed despite me running a bit over. As I said, those of you who have their membership, if you're wanting to have it guided in a bit longer, it will be up and online the next few days. And we have a women's circle happening on Zoom on Saturday. We're trying to make that as sacred as possible, so we won't be, we'll be asking people if you're coming, come early as if you're coming to a yoga class, and we're not going to be letting people in after 7:01 basically. So be on time, show up for it, create a sacred space. Thanks everybody. I might put on my wellies and go out for a walk now. I hope you all have a beautiful day. Thank you for joining me. What's the day today? Wednesday. Great, so we still have a couple of more days together. Yes, the Women's Circle. Joanna, I wonder whether it might be too early in the morning for UK time. It's really hard right now with the daylight savings to get the timings right across everywhere in the world in Melbourne. Namaste, Lance. Thanks, Lara. And have a beautiful day, everybody. Thanks, Francesca and Nikki. And I will see you all, hopefully, in the morning. Thank you.